A-Tap Rocky just walked free after facing some serious charges in a high-profile trial, and the way he managed to beat the case is definitely worth diving into. This case has grabbed a lot of attention in the hip-hop world, especially since Rocky is not only a huge rapper, but he's also married to Rihanna, one of the most famous and richest women on the planet. So when the stakes are this high, you're probably wondering how he managed to come out on top despite all the allegations. Let's break it down. It all started on November 6, 2021, around 10:20 p.m., near Vista Del Mar and Selma Avenue in Los Angeles. What began as a simple conversation between two former friends, A$AP Rocky and a guy named REI, quickly escalated into something much more serious. They had been friends for over 14 years, but tensions had been brewing for a while. That night, they allegedly agreed to meet near the W Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard to talk things through. However, things didn't go as planned. When REI showed up, surveillance footage showed that Rocky was already there, along with his friends A$AP Hills and A$AP 12. According to REI, Rocky immediately became aggressive, grabbing him by the collar of his sweatshirt. Things went from bad to worse when 12 tried to break up the situation, but the altercation continued to heat up. Then came the most serious claim. REI said Rocky pulled out a black semi-automatic handgun, pressed it against his chest, and threatened to kill him. After the confrontation, REI claimed Rocky walked away, but when he followed Rocky, that's when things allegedly took a turn for the worse. Rocky allegedly turned around and shot at him from about 16 feet away. REI said he felt a sharp pain in his hand and realized a bullet had grazed him. Prosecutors tried to build their case around REI's version of events. They argued that surveillance footage supported his claims, showing the physical confrontation and REI trying to shield himself behind Rocky's associate. Additionally, cameras captured the sound of 2 gunshots, seemingly backing up the claim that shots were fired. REI also handed over 2 shell casings he allegedly found at the scene, which prosecutors used as part of their argument. Based on this, they charged Rocky with assault with a firearm, but there was one big problem. Despite all the claims, no firearm was ever recovered. There were no physical injuries beyond the graze wound, and no one could definitively say if a real gun was even used. All of this came down to whether or not the jury believed REI's story. And as the trial unfolded, it became clear that REI wasn't the reliable witness the prosecution thought he was. The defense, on the other hand, focused on the lack of evidence. They pointed out that no gun was found, no forensic proof linked Rocky to a real shooting, and much of the testimony seemed questionable. One key point was that REI's story didn't line up with the physical evidence. The defense argued that REI exaggerated the situation and had personal motives. In fact, they suggested the gun wasn't real. It was a prop from a music video and it only fired blanks. Some witnesses even testified that REI knew the gun was fake. As for the footage showing Rocky firing shots, the defense didn't deny that it was Rocky in the video, but they flipped the narrative. Instead of denying the incident, they suggested the gun wasn't real, but just part of a misunderstanding. At one point, even Rocky's lawyer admitted that he did fire the shots, but the defense insisted the weapon was a prop, not a real gun. This was a major turning point in the case, and it completely changed how the jury viewed the situation. The prosecution kept insisting that Rocky fired a real gun, but the biggest issue was the fact that no weapon had ever been found. Without a gun or forensic evidence, the entire case was based on REI's testimony alone, and the more REI spoke, the less credible he became. Another major blow to the prosecution was REI's delay in reporting the incident to the police. He waited 2 days before bringing the shell casings to authorities, but when police first arrived, they found no casings at all. REI claimed he found them later, but there was no evidence to back this up. Furthermore, after the alleged shooting, REI never sought immediate medical attention in Los Angeles. Instead, he flew back to New York for treatment, which made his injury seem less urgent and raised questions about its severity. The defense took full advantage of this, suggesting that REI planted the shell casings to frame Rocky, and it didn't. Stop there. The prosecution's case was falling apart at the seams. There were inconsistencies with the shell casings, with the medical reports, and with REI's testimony. On top of that, Text messages surfaced where REI seemed more focused on getting paid than pursuing justice. When confronted, REI claimed the messages were fake, but by then, his credibility had already been called into question. In the end, the jury had no choice but to ask whether the prosecution had truly proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. And with every piece of evidence either inconsistent or lacking, it was clear they hadn't. Rocky's defense team didn't need to prove he was innocent. They just needed to make the jury question if there was enough proof to convict him. And with no gun, no real evidence, and a shaky witness in REI, the jury had no choice but to find him not guilty on all charges. When the verdict was delivered, the courtroom erupted in cheers and Rocky was visibly relieved, thanking the jury for saving his life. The prosecution, on the other hand, was left scrambling. They had even offered a last-minute plea deal, asking for just 6 months in jail, down from their original 20-year recommendation. But Rocky laughed it off and took his chances in court, which turned out to be the right move. With the trial behind him, a happy Rocky wasted no time getting back to work. He's gearing up to release his first solo album since 2018, headlining, rolling loud, and even starring in a film later this year. Meanwhile, the prosecution was left looking like they had overreached, and the entire case came down to one thing. The jury didn't believe REI. Looking back, it's easy to see why the verdict went the way it did. REI was a terrible witness, emotional, unreliable, and easily agitated. At one point in court, he even snapped at Rocky's lawyer, calling him annoying and losing his composure. This is the same guy who was accusing Rocky of shooting him. But instead of staying calm and collected, he acted out like a child in the middle of a serious trial. On the other hand, Rocky remained composed and professional throughout the proceedings. When you contrast the two, it becomes clear why the jury sided with him, and that's how ASAP Rocky beat the case. What do you think about this whole situation? Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.